Yeah, I've got the HDView running right here, so you get a little sense that processing lots of image data now, it turns out with the right algorithms, we can do this very well. So let you scan in and out, and even apply a lot of recognition algorithms to understand. Here, what we really want is a database of all the neuron connections inside the brain, and eventually understanding exactly what's being connected. So if we look here, this is the layer diagram, and I can go in and look at individual layers at any time, try to understand exactly what's changing as we go through that. A lot of data that process very quickly. And then here's where we take an algorithm that's trying to understand exactly what the patterns are and then map that, as was being said, into those structures. Now, obviously, this is just the beginning of this type of capability to really get the model and understand what the meaning of the messages are all the way up to the next level. That's going to take a lot of time. That's a very software-driven activity. One thing that's amazing is in the computer industry and sciences broadly is how much students have really been at the heart of a lot of breakthroughs. John mentioned a lot of the great companies that Stanford alum or dropouts have started, and there are other examples as well. And so it's very interesting that at a young age, people are very open-minded about new approaches. We announced a new program today to actually let students have all the same tool software, things like Visual Studio or Expression, the same software for free that professional developers use. Really trying to broaden that out, both to departments, not only the computer science department, where we've already had grant programs, but to the other departments, and even down to a younger age level, so that this access to the very best tools is there from the beginning. Some of these people will go on and start companies, some will just be a lot better in whatever activities they engage in. This level of interest is very high. We have a contest every year we call the Imagine Cup. Last year it was about 100,000 students. This year it will be 150,000 students. The United States is the third biggest country, where Brazil and India have higher enrollment. The U.S. at 15,000 is very significant. And the quality of these entrants are really unbelievable. In fact, we had a thing where people won a programming contest. We would just basically give them a job. And some of the people who've come out of that have been really phenomenal in terms of what they want. And what we're seeing is we're really getting to the point where your level of education is what defines your opportunity. It's less about where you grew up and simply having access to these tools. If you're lucky enough to get access, then really the sky's the limit in terms of what can be done. So this brings us to my final topic, which is the question of, as we have all these advances, how are the benefits of those advances spread in terms of the richest 2 billion on the planet, say the middle 2 billion, and the bottom 2 billion? And in fact, our record to date is that although there's benefits in terms of improved medicine and food and electricity to a high percentage of people, that the relative benefit has been overwhelmingly to essentially the people who need it the least, where the marginal benefit is lower than it is, say, in the poorest 2 billion, where literally for not spending a few $100s, a child's life is lost. Of the 12 million children that die every year, less than 1% of them are in the rich countries. And yet, if you look at medical research that's related to those things, over 90% would relate to the conditions that are in the richest countries. So you have this big disparity. Consider how much money should be spent on baldness versus on malaria. Well, the ratio is about 50 to 1 for baldness. Malaria, of course, kills over 1 million a year. I was pretty stunned when I found out about these statistics. And I have to say, it was after I dropped out of Harvard, actually quite a bit, over 10 years. I read about a disease called rotavirus that was killing 500,000 children a year. And I thought, what the heck is rotavirus? I've absolutely never heard of it. This article must be wrong. You can't have a disease that's killing 500,000 children and not have had courses. You know, I flew through the course catalog. I never saw anything, any of this stuff. And in fact, the one medicine there was for that disease, the one vaccine, was taken off the market because of things that really it shouldn't have been taken off the market for the key target markets, which was the poor countries. So we have this disparity that, as great as our system is, if there's not a market need, it doesn't drive the innovation to the particular requirements of the poorest. And yeah, I think that's a very solvable thing. In fact, I think there's an increasing awareness, a desire of people working at companies, and of universities to have an impact that's measured slightly in an additional way besides what the pure market incentives are. Our research group in India has a special group with a lot of social scientists in it that goes out to the poorest and is looking and talking to them. And very quickly you realize for that segment, there's no electricity, there's widespread illiteracy. You're not going to give them a personal computer. I don't care if it's a 10-cent personal computer. The problem is very different than that. And so some of the solutions they've come up with in terms of using cell phones or even just using DVDs have been amazing. They take these agriculture extension workers who go out and help farmers, tell them what to do, and they come with a TV set and a DVD. And the very best farmers have been filmed doing these things. Think of it as like American Idol, except this is a farmer idol. And they really want to be the ones who choose on the video. And that technique has done more for improving the productivity of those farmers. It's 3 times as effective as just sending that person out, and yet they don't need to be nearly as trained. And so some technologies, like a DVD player carried out to ability, when used in the right structure, can have a very dramatic impact. And so at every tier, the bottom civilian, the middle civilian, we have to think through what technology can work. For vaccines, you have to keep them cold as they get out to these rural villages. That's a very tough thing. One of the things I'll be spending time on is reaching out to both universities and companies and encouraging them to get more involved in this. Food companies on micronutrients and the ideas they have about buying food and helping the smallholder farmers who represent the majority of the abject poor in the world. The pharma companies in terms of doing more on these things. I absolutely think universities have a big role to play here. One element of it is that I don't think students should graduate without having some sense, ideally both learning about it and having some direct experience of it, of the average human condition in the world, as opposed to the condition that we experience normally by living here in one of the very richest countries in the world. So I think we can apply ourselves to this. I don't think it requires a revolution, but it does require a focus. It requires some value system that gets expressed and some measurement, both in terms of who's doing it well and who's not doing it well, that's really going to drive more rapid change. So overall, I hope you get a sense of my optimism about how technology broadly and software in particular will become an enabling element in the years ahead. I think it's a wonderful time to be a student and to have gathered these skills, and so I'll be very excited to see the great work that you can do. Thank you.